Oshiomhole has been saved by the whiskers. A court of appeal sitting in Abuja has restrained the All Progressives Congress from executing the judgment of a Federal Capital Territory court which ordered the suspension of Adams Oshiomhole as national chairman of the ruling party. On March 4, Danlami Senchi, a judge of the Federal Capital Territory FCT High Court in Abuja, had ordered the suspension of Oshiomhole pending the determination of a suit filed by one Oluwale Afolabi. Afolabi had challenged the continued stay of Oshiomhole in office despite his suspension by the Edo State chapter of the APC. But on Monday, Abubakar Yahya, chairman of the three-man panel of judges, ordered a stay of execution pending the hearing of an application filed by Oshiomhole. Oshiomole's appeal asked the court to set aside the suspension order at the resumed session. Wole Olanipekun, counsel to Oshiomhole, prayed the court to grant a motion ex parte staying the order of the lower court. In this vein, therefore, we find merit in this application. The court said, we hereby ordered a stay of execution on the ruling of the FCT High Court delivered on the 4th of March 2020. Let's take a look at what Oshiomhole had to say after his suspension was stayed.
And we have a much fuller house today than we have had for a long, long time. We showed a renewed interest, a renewed vigor on the part of all the NWC members to see that we provide the necessary leadership to rebuilding the unity within the ranks of the NWC. Because if the head is divided, the bottom cannot stand. Leaders of the party elected at a convention, we should lead by example. And that means for those who we think has offended the system, we have chosen to lift the suspension so that Senator Lawal Shuaibu can resume his duties as Deputy National Chairman North.
All right, we just listened to Adams Oshiomhole looking somewhat relieved after he survived his planned removal from office as the national chairman of the APC. There is no debate in the fact that he must have suffered some bruises to his person and his pride. What do you make of that, Barrister Osho?
Life is a continual lesson. You know, it's a continual lesson. Comrade Oshiomhole so far, as national chairman of the APC, definitely has many enemies. Because the house divided against itself cannot stand. You see, the enemies that Oshiomhole has, they are members of his party. We are not talking about PDP people fighting him. So the party is divided. Some want him out, but some people also want to tell him to stay.
Of course. You
know, there are several allegations against him that he was responsible for their loss of Zamfara State, their loss of River State, you know, but that is not really, for me, he was not solely responsible for those activities. But the thing is that he has enemies, and look at the way they have gone about it. The courts too have been used by these politicians, you know, in furtherance of their selfish ambition. We saw how the court in Abuja restrained him from parading himself, and within 2 days, another court in Kano, Jose Luis Alagwa, you know, reinstated him. Before I said Jack Robinson, there was another pronouncement in Lagos on the same matter. We are talking about courts of coordinate jurisdiction, messing up, you know, the judiciary. Yes, to answer our question, Oshiomhole has suffered bruises to his ego. Why? Because he also has a bloated ego. Right now, you can see his conciliatory moves. He's talking, you know, like a gentleman. He has stretched out the olive leaf, you know, to the other members of the party. Lawan Shuaibu, like he said in that news broadcast, has been reinstated. You understand? You know, I think second national chairman of the APC North, that he removed. He has been reinstated also as a member of the National Working Committee of the party. I hope he has learned his lesson. Right. The one thing I know is that his enemies are within, and they are still there.
All right, his enemies are within and still there. Barrister Wokidi, how can you describe the survival of Adams Oshiomhole as the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress? You recall the same day the appeal court made that pronouncement. Earlier, the court could not sit, and what the news our journalists got was the case has been adjourned indefinitely. No panel was set up, and just before we knew what was happening, this played out and his suspension was halted. What do you make about the role the judiciary has played in this APC's imbroglio? What's your take?
The other thing is just suspicious. It boils down to the same allegations we've always been complaining about executive meddlesomeness and interference in the judiciary. They may not be expressly, noticed, but when you look at it, like one prevent that one man, some young boys caught, one old man was caught stealing a fowl. He kept the fowl inside the black nylon and ran into where old men were. And when they, some young men were pursuing the man, and when they pursued the man to where the old people were, they collected the bag from the man and then told one of the old men, say, look, take your eyes as a very old man and look into this bag and know whether there is a fowl there. The man was looking at the keys with clocks and everything to beat up the other old man to death for stealing a fowl. The other said, use the eye of an old man to look into this bag. Is there any fowl there? The man looked and said, he didn't see any fowl. So young boys, he did steal a fowl, but the man stole a fowl. So in most cases, when you look at prima facie or what is going on, it will appear it's the normal business of the judiciary. But when you look at that old man's eye, to look at it very, very well, you will discover that the fowl that the young people saw there is not the same fowl the old man saw. So in that case, it's an embarrassment. It's a kind of a shameful act that courts of coordinate jurisdictions will be making pronouncements and counter pronouncements. These issues have been recurring, and there is a pity that judiciary have not really sat up to look at how to address these issues. How can two courts of coordinate jurisdiction make the pronouncements on the same matter? How can people be going on in shopping spree for judgments? Court in Kano giving judgments, High Court in Abuja, High Court in Kano, and High Court in Lagos, they are done and all this. They are ridiculous. I think there should be a rule that will guide the conduct of courts. That once a court has made a pronouncement, a court of coordinate jurisdiction will not sit on that same matter. And it's supposed to be express, and supposed to be binding and practicable, and everyone should know that. And all the judicial members of the judiciary, the judges, also should know that. Again, the issue of Oshiomhole and his appeal court, for me, Oshiomhole has not survived the removal. He just had a relief. Stay of execution is basically, I thank God my children men are here. Yes, it is even almost a right of every man on appeal.
All right.
Once the matter has gone on appeal, at least to some extent, a reasonable extent, you are entitled to a stay of execution. So at the rest, the subject matter you are contesting in the appeal shall not be destroyed before the appeal will be had. So now, that does not mean that the substantive suit cannot go on. Do you understand the point now? The substantive suit is still there. It's just that the appeal court got a stay action removing, suspending him as the chairman. Why the matter will still go on for court to determine the merit or otherwise of his suspension from his ward. And this issue of suspension from the ward level having effect over a national member of the party or national officer has actually come to the front burner. But I don't know whether it was adequately addressed. Who has the right to suspend a member of a party? Because I'm very much aware that membership of any political party is derived from the ward level.
Of course.
It's the ward level where you go and register. Yeah. That's why during the election, all of them will go to their wards. So now who has the power to suspend? Is it the national body or is it the ward? Has that been clearly defined in our laws or the laws guiding the party affairs? because it must be defined. If ward level has the right to like issue you card as a member of any political party, that same ward level ought to be bestowed with the power to remove you, irrespective of the office you occupy at the national level. Your sovereignty, your validity as member of that political party is derived from that membership card issued to you at the ward level.
And that is the root.
And that's the root. From there, you now sprang up to national level. You don't be at the national level and then say, okay, now your ward level can no longer remove me. Where do you come from? It's like from the ward. That boils down to issue of people having crisis in their home states with their governor. When we are mentioning the enemies of Oshiomhole, my friend have forgotten his home state. Abaseki, the governor of Edo State, who has been at the front burner on the issue of removal of Oshiomhole. Incidentally, he is the one that actually brought in Abaseki as his successor.
All right.
So
we'll get to the Edo politics of it. All right, Barrister Omodele. Barrister Okidi has actually laid the background to the fact that it's not yet Uhuru for Adams Oshiomhole. What's your take?
Well, the national chairman has exercised its constitutional right by approaching the Court of Appeal, and the court has come to a rescue. Now, there is a slogan that says, "Where there is no law, there is no sin." The purpose of the court to be there is for a situation that occurred to Adams Oshiomhole. He has approached the appropriate forum. Now, the order made ex parte stay of execution fine and good. I don't have access to read the records of appeal. The records of appeal would have been explicit to the justices that presided over that application that granted the stay of execution. So that must have given hint to those justices and say, okay, in order to forestall peace and to avoid embarrassment to the bench and to the party and to the appellant, the execution stay, fine and good. Struggle continues. It should continue. Meanwhile, you see politicians. No politician wants to lose an election. Politicians don't contest for the sake of fun. Their purpose of going to office is for the purpose of victory and for achievement. That is exactly what you see what is happening now. Now, there is a theory called games theory. That games theory is of scientific origin. Now, but it is not applicable to both social science, arts, humanities, science. That is exactly the theory the politicians in Nigeria now are using. Now, the game now is that some people want him to be out of office for their own goodness. Some people want him to be there for their own benefit.
As well.
Now, then what do? You plan your game, I plan my own game. When your game surpasses mine, you defeat me. If mine surpasses yours, I defeat you. That's exactly what is happening. Now, to all purposes and intent, you will see that the intervention of the number one citizen and his lieutenants with the assistance of the court lay some hulawalu to rest. And that's exactly what is happening. But all revolves around the theory of game theory. The outplay game, that game is working towards not 2020, not 2021, not 2022, but the game is focusing 2023. Everybody wants his own man to be there so that his interests could be protected. That's exactly what is happening.
You wonder what the interests of Nigerians are in all of this. All right, let's talk about, you said he has a whole lot of enemies in the party. I agree with you. There are some governors who want him in. There are some who want him out. But do you think if he survives the challenges ahead in Edo State, but before we go into Edo State deeply, Ondo primaries, APC primaries is coming up. Edo State primaries is coming up. Do you think the way he handles those primaries will actually make a difference, you know, with the way those perceived enemies within the party actually see him?
You see, you have mentioned two highly contentious states, you know, where the governors don't see eye to eye with Comrade Oshiomhole. But like someone has stated, the governor of Edo State is sitting on the fence, while the governor of Edo is clearly in the fray. Because look, immediately Oshiomhole was reinstated by the Court of Appeal. In Edo State, a new secretariat, was opened less than 2 kilometers from the old one. Now, why the people in charge? Odubu, a one-time deputy governor of Edo State, one Osakwe or something like that is there. Then there's a retired general too. These are pro-Oshiomhole people. And they've opened their own secretariat. Even though the Obaseki group is shouting that there's only one secretariat in Edo, but there's an existing one again, whether de facto or de join. And there's this man called Inuse, something like that, in Edo State. He actually attended the last APC NEC meeting. So it's from that Oshiomhole side. Now, from the way things are looking in Edo State, I think Mr. Obaseki is in a tight corner. But the president has waded into this matter, because that's the argument of the Obaseki group, that the Oshiomhole group should listen to the president, there will be peace in the party, that all factions in the party should be dissolved. There should be no factions in the party. But realistically, what is on ground now is that the Oshiomhole people, they are feeling stronger, because their man is no longer technically under any suspension. He is the de facto chairman of the party. He's calling the shots. So what he has said is that he wants to bring peace to the party. You understand? And critically speaking, as Oshiomhole, in terms of primaries, violated the constitution of his party, as he violated it. What his problem has been that the governors should give space, a free space for contestants to contest the election. That is theoretically sound. But practically speaking, governors control the pulse of the states. The governors are the head of the parties in their states, because they call the shots. So, to answer your question, Ondo and Edo State, there will be a litmus test for the survivor of Mr. Oshiomhole. You understand? They are giving to him. Oshiomhole is a strong man. You understand? He has been decisive. You understand? A leader to be decisive, wrongly or rightly. It's not like Buhari. Buhari will not take any decision. He will not take any stand. He's a man who always sits on the fence in time of crisis. That is a dangerous thing. That Oshiomhole, at least, that he takes stands. Look at Zamfara State. He took his stand, though his party lost. But he had a stand. We know his stand. You understand? So, but now, what I expect is that in Ondo, in particular, Mr. Kenedolu has to find a way, of reaching a compromise with Oshiomhole. Because there are factions in that place. Right. There are factions. He has to find a way of reaching compromise with him, so that he may successfully get a second term. And Obaseki too should also do the same. Because if they don't do it, they are coming back, maybe tough.
All right, still on the enemies of Oshiomhole, now in Edo State, Pastor Izeyamu is there. He defected to the party with his army of supporters. Obaseki is there too, also wanting a second term. He has the governors of the APC behind him, those who are against Oshiomhole. Probably, they would not want one of theirs to suffer a humiliation by not getting a second term ticket. How do you reconcile this? How would the party handle this at this critical moment?
Let me even point out a very serious error in our political system. If you have to look at it critically from the place we borrow the presidential election, which is America. There's a lacuna that's been wittingly or unwittingly created in our democratic practice. And that's the issue of a governor running for second term, running for the ticket of his primary from the same party for second term. In America, I don't think it's like so. You don't see Trump gearing up for primary election. Okay. Once you are the person that has been elected on a particular ticket and you occupy office, automatically your party will field you for second term. Then the populace will now decide whether they will vote you out or not. But not your party deciding whether you are going back. The power to go back or not will be determined by the people, not your party. Once you have been given right to contest election, you are entitled to a second term. So these are the things should be addressed. Because if they address all these issue of crisis between a serving governor and a party chieftain and whatever, will be laid to rest. So the party, the person in power will try to perform well so that the people will not vote him out and not the party not returning him. And every member of the party will have a kind of a joint kind of action towards enabling him to perform, so that he will have the right to be voted in again by the people, and not a situation where a party member will be working for the downfall of his own party member as a governor, so that he will not be entitled to a second term, so that he will go. I mean, it's a kind of an issue that should be spotted in our democratic practice, because in America, where we borrow this presidential system of government, it's not their system there. Because you see that most party members within the party will be working for the downfall of their own party man as a governor, so as to position themselves to grab the party ticket for him for second term, instead of collectively helping the governor to deliver and helping their party to deliver. So during second term, the body, the people, the popular citizenry will now vote for their party for second term. In America, Republicans are working towards returning Trump, not to destroy Trump so as to get a ticket to go in.
Irrespective of your personal conviction about Trump as a president.
But as a person, we have to join hands to enable Trump to succeed for the sake of our party, so that the Americans will return our party back. We have to note this in our as a lacuna. Then to your question now, Oshiomhole, in Edo states, like people you mentioned, Miziyam and the rest of them, they are there. They have to exercise their rights as granted in the Constitution, but then being free and fair is something that we don't know whether Oshiomhole is going to ensure in Edo states. Then making it free and fair, then allowing the system to be transparent and to be open. If he's going to do that, that will give him more credit. He's not going to do that again. In Edo State is a fragile state.
Very.
And Oshiomhole himself was the one that said that God for that reason has been killed in the states. And they should be aware that PDP might not be so powerful now, but the people are looking at them as alternative. You are aware that Oyinlola decamped, Shibin Oni decamped, and some are warming up to decamp too. So there's the goodwill that APC enjoyed previously, 2015 or whatever, it's no longer there. Even the party kind of uniformity and the kind of oneness or togetherness they enjoyed it to this time also no longer there. Yeah. So, like Chris Okibo of the blessed memory said after the first coup in Nigeria, he said already talking about pumpkins. When they share the meat, let them remember thunder. And in 1966 in July, a second thunder struck. So while they share the meat, let them remember thunder, the thunder that blew up in the 16th of January 1966. That thunder is still hanging. Now while they share the meat, they should remember that thunder has not left the scene. And July, another thunder came up. So why Oshiomhole is interested in his political maneuvering and manipulations and whatever in the Edo State, he should remember that the thunder is still present.
All right, Barrister Modili.
Yeah, you see, there is a problem or a lacuna omission in the Constitution. The ideal of second term, until it is addressed, there should be single term for every political officer. Now, if it's a single term, 5-year single term, this ideal of I'm going for second term would have been properly addressed. Now, you see, the problem is this. All these governors, if they rule well, be it the one in Ondo State, and my brother in Edo State there, you don't need to lobby. You will automatically win. But when you do not rule well, you didn't serve your people to the best of your ability and knowledge, you decide to be amassing wealth for yourself, automatically within your conscience, you know that you may not win. That is what is bringing about all these things. Now, a particular political party is ruling. Are you the only person in that political party? The answer is no. Are you the most qualified candidate in that political party? The answer is no. Then, is it only your senatorial district in that state? The answer is no. Every state in Nigeria has 3 senatorial districts. Now, in a situation whereby a senatorial district decides to produce the governor for 80 years, then that means the 3rd senatorial district has to wait for another 16 years before it gets to their turn. What are we saying? It's uncalled for. There should be a rotational system. You rotate it from senatorial 1, 4 years, go to senatorial 2, 4 years, go to senatorial 3, 4 years, then come back to senatorial 1. It will make it even. In a situation where a senatorial district wants to rule the state for 8 years, we are human. All these politicians, they spend millions of naira. But it's where only you. Is it the most educated person in that state? Is it the richest person? What's it for? You have ruled 4 years. Go. If you still have interest in future, you can still come back. It is not their father's house. Is it their personal residence? What are they doing there? Now, the chairman said, if what I read in the paper is correct, that they want direct primaries. Let them do the direct primaries. If you are qualified, if your people say we want you, they will put you there. If they say they don't want to go back, let another person go to the office. It is only a madman that will say in public that he is the best person in the society. It's irritating for somebody to be in an office 4 years. What is your achievement? Sponsoring failed cases, failed coup, failed plan, wasting taxpayers' money. Sponsoring people because you want somebody, because of your selfish interest, you don't want somebody to be in an office. It's uncalled for. It's embarrassing. Let the party has mapped out their strategy. We want direct primaries, do direct primaries. If it favors you, to God be the glory. If it doesn't favor you, carry your bags and baggages and go back.
All right, very well. Let's take a very quick breather. You're still watching Democracy and the Rule of Law, and we are discussing the appeal court stay of execution on the case involving the APC national chairman. And as it is now, he's still the chairman of the party, that is Adams Oshiomhole. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, so welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is Democracy and the Rule of Law, coming to you live from the studio of Galaxy Television here in Lagos. All right, very so sure. What will Oshiomhole do with the ambition of Pastor Izeyamu, who, like I said, defected to the All Progressives Congress with his army of supporters?
Ordinarily, Oshiomhole is the chairman of the APC. It's at the national level. You know, he's supposed to be after the leader of the party, who is the president. Then the next person is Oshiomhole. He is supposed to be a father of the party in the interest of peace. You know, granted that Yamu has moved to the APC, the president has also set up a peace committee headed by Akonde. And Akonde is a well-respected elder, the former governor, former leader of the same party. In the interest of peace, we know that he was the one that brought Obaseki, you know, from obscurity to become the governor of Edo State. It's not, you see, settling the matter, I don't think it boils solely on Oshiomhole. Obaseki too needs to perhaps humble himself. He should humble himself, you know, and appeal to Oshiomhole. Because all these other governors that are anti-Oshiomhole, they are governors in their own states. They are like people who shout on social media. When it's time to vote, most of them, their vote does not count. They don't even go out to vote. So these governors have their agenda. And the agenda that we all know is 2023. Now, the thing is that, like my little friend has said, if this man had performed very well, Obaseki, you know, his performance should speak for him. His activities should also speak for him. You know, ditto, Mr. Akeredolu, if you have performed, their performance should speak for them. So that if these direct primaries that should be called for, you know, then let them go for it. You know, but there are some other issues there in Nigerian politics. Nigerian politics is based on money. If you bring an angel to Nigeria, you know, an angel from heaven, that you know is a good person, if he doesn't play the Nigerian politics the way they play it, he will not win political office. For me, Akeredolu has achieved a lot. For me, I read the papers, look at the zone that the free trade zone he has brought to that place, the bridges he has built, the roads he has built, you understand? So I don't really think a person like that should struggle with the second term. But there are people in the party, you know, who also have their own selfish interests. So, but you ask a question, is on Oshiomhole, what should he do, you know, to win the affection of his enemies? He should reach out to them, like from his conciliatory speech. He has given an indication, you know, that his belligerent attitude, you know, that he brought from the labor union, that he's trying to change it.
And while giving that speech, he was unusually calm.
Was calm. You understand? And he's giving, you know, fellas that he wants to mend his ways. So I believe the others should respond, you know, in like manner. Okay. You know, they should meet halfway. It's supposed to be a give and take thing. For me, Oshiomhole, with all his mistakes, he has done well for his party. Because the party is coming from somewhere. We remember when Oyegun was the chairman of the party. Oshiomhole brought stability. Though some people also say he was dictatorial. Take, for example, their legal team. I don't think their legal team is even in place. I don't think the legal team of the party is in place, that he muzzles them, where there is not allowing them to do their work. So it will change all that. It should allow the constitution of the party, you know, to work flawlessly.
All right.
You know, then reach out to the other people.
All right. Barrister Osho did say your performance as a governor will determine if you really should determine if you get the party's ticket or not. I can't say of Akeredolu, but I know Obaseki has been enmeshed in one battle or the other over who really should control the state with Oshiomhole, and I see a whole lot of distraction. Personally, I feel this is a governor who has been so distracted with one controversy or the other brewing up from the state. Barrister Owoke, would you really say Obaseki really had the opportunity to really deliver on his mandate to the people of Edo State?
I can't 100% say that, because first and foremost, I'm not from Edo State. I'm not from there.
I am from Edo
State. I'm not from Edo State. So I don't have the modus operandi. I don't have the authority. I'm not an authority to discuss extensively on his performance, aside what I read in the papers, which to some extent might be real or might not be real. But the issue I want to take a contrary opinion in is the fact that one of the determinant factors of whether you emerge the governor for the second tenure is based on their performance. I don't think that is entirely correct. It's not based on your performance. It's based on your relationship with the godfathers, the kingmakers of the party in the states. Because at that point, the populace, the hoi polloi, the member of the general society, they have no role to play on whether you're coming back for second tenure or not. They don't have any role to play. It's the godfathers, the kingmakers, the National Working Committee of the party, the people that have the voting right, the Congress. Remember, you know, these are the people that will determine whether you come back or not. So your relationship with them and the way you parley with them, the way you also oil their pants, will determine whether you are coming back or not. For instance, what happened in Lagos. People in Lagos, Lagosians believe that Ambode performed. He has a master plan to reform Lagos. He brought in so many things in Lagos that ordinary people believe that, look, we are almost on our way to El Dorado in terms of having a replica of UK or of London and things like that. Even the measures we put in place for this waste disposal, initially it was like a challenge, but after that, what they call it, you know, that's a visionscape, and they've been free, you know, west to world and all those things, bridges and flyovers and stadium and everything was doing everywhere. People were like, he's doing well, even there, and all those are about. People actually applauded him. But when the kingmakers decided he's not coming back, when the news broke into to Lagosians, they were like, it was a joke. They said, the kingmakers said, no, you are not coming back because you didn't treat us well. Not that you didn't treat Lagosians well, Politicians have actually said, look, you performed abysmally low. You didn't perform. Or you're not doing well. But you didn't treat our interests, our own interests, the kingmaker as well. And therefore, you, Ambode, you are not qualified to come back. We are going to replace you and bring someone that will protect our interests and bring us back to business and revive our business and oil our pumps and make us worthy, make us alive. And Ambode was removed. It wasn't the Lagosians. If Ambode was presented to Lagosians for second tenure, Lagosians would have voted massively for him. But there was a kind of block, a deciding factor that decided the Lagosians wouldn't even see you. You wouldn't even get to the level that Lagosians will determine your fate. That is the effect of primary election. That's why I said that if they will allow the system being practiced in US, where we borrow the presidential system to be in operation in Nigeria, the masses will determine whether you have done well to come back or not, and not some individuals, some bloated individual with kind of selfish interest. I don't know whether you have seen these kingmakers. I have opportunity of being close to one, and I was so surprised how they reason. They are not seeing things the way you see it. If they don't have their interests protected, if you like put food on the table of everybody, they don't like you. In fact, the more you put food on the table of people, and then diminishing what will come to them, the more they hate you. They even like you when you don't even perform, but they are okay. You are a good person, they'll bring you back. If I come in Abia State, there's so many states like that in the north and the southwest here. It's a matter of how good you are to them. And once you are that, you are coming back. All your sins will be forgiven. So now that's why we have to look for an avenue, because this is actually choking the governors. While the governor is striving to perform and deliver good governance for the people of the state, he's also striving to maintain the godfathers, to ensure he's coming back for second tenure. And that will be a distraction. In most cases, they will launch an attack on the governor. Like in the those days we are seeing now, that young man is a sound economist. There was this company, Afri Invest or whatever, they always come to Arise News like say one or two things. Someone told me, yeah, this company is owned by Obaseki. I said, they say it's owned by this man. And it's a very well researched, I would say it's a sound economist. The time he addressed the governor's forum, everybody was in awe of how sound that man is. Yeah. But they don't allow that young man to perform. Because Oshiomhole has a kind of maybe percentage of money that's supposed to be coming to him, list of people that will be commissioners, list of people that will be given posts, list of those that will be assigned to executive offices. Why should you do that? And you are once a governor, you have finished your tenure, and graciously you use your 8 years. Remove your interest there, go to the national. Look, in my place they say a good fighter doesn't fight at home. You go and fight in the outside and bring your proceeds to the home. You don't come here and stay at your home state and stage the fight there. Because you want to be a god there. So that is the, you see, Yamu, I'm so disappointed in him. When he was running for APC, I was his fan. I don't know him. But I was like a fan of that man then. But for him now to become from PDP back to APC means that his question has the interest in just grabbing power. All right. Just to grab power. Power is not at all costs. A government that is constitutionally has the right to go for it. Like what my late colleague has said about zoning. If zoning is a constitutional issue, it's a gentleman's agreement. If it's a constitutional issue, our law will be like explicit on that and expressly make a provision for that. But since it's a kind of gentleman's agreement, and if they have a written document in Edo State there that Obaseki is going to do only 4 years and then return the power to another geopolitical zone, so then that would have been fair. But Oshiomhole has already violated that law, even if it is in practice. Law, he did 8 years. That was the Prime Minister's territorial zones. You are right for 4 years. As
Thank you, Barrister Mwokedi. Barrister Modele, yes, there is nothing that cannot happen in politics in Nigeria. No. I know that. Now a reconciliation initiative is on the way with Chief Bisia Konde as chairman to ensure the effective reconciliation of the factions in the state. But the party is really in a very bad shape in Edo State. How far do you think this reconciliation committee can go to reconcile the warring factions, those members who are displeased in one way or the other in Edo State?
Well, you see, the team constituted by the party to reconcile the agreed members, they have wealth of experiences. Now, there is no how difficult a situation can be. It can be resolved. But parties must shift ground so as to arrive at a conclusive ground. Now, the fact that one is fighting the other, there are litigations here and there, is resolvable. Resolvable in the sense that if the parties that went to court got judgment, got injunction, got stay, got this, got that. The party or the committee instruct them and say, Mr. A, Mr. B, before we commence our settlement, go and discontinue your cases in court. If that one is done, you see the tension will be down. When the tension downs, then negotiation continues. So I believe the committee can still achieve, despite the problems on ground. But parties involved must shift grounds. That is how the issue can be resolved.
Okay,